wanted to first just make a couple quick housekeeping announcements for the members that are new to this process. What I will do is we'll have each department head or elected official come before this body. I will introduce them and ask them first to make any comments they have in terms of the mayor's proposed budget, and then also make any presentation that they might wish to make at that time. Then we will open up the floor to questions and comments from council members. I will recognize members of the Budget and Finance Committee first, and then if time allows, we will recognize any other members that are present. Let's see, wanted to also remind you that Elise will be putting on your desk each day this worksheet that you can take notes, make suggestions. The purpose is really for you to make any suggestions that you might have with regards to that individual budget. I, of course, would ask that if you are making suggestions on a budgetary increase for that particular department, that you would also include a suggestion of where we might be able to take that money from. Let's see. And we also, I also would ask that members of the committee and council members would limit their questions to specifically the budget and not to the operation specifically of each department or any other kind of commentary therein. With that being said, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Cardwell, our Davidson County trustee. Mr. Cardwell, if you would please introduce who you have with you. And actually, Councilman Stein, did you wish to say anything first? Okay. If you would please introduce who you have brought with you, and also if you would please just tell us how you are feeling about the mayor's proposed budget, and then any other commentary you might have. Let me first, actually, let me get you. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I have with me today Pat Alexander, who is the Deputy Trustee for Administration. The budget that was given to me by the administration, Mayor Dean, I did not get any enhancements, but I did not lose anything. So that's the budget I enjoy having each year. What I would like to do at this time is to talk about a program that is very dear to my heart and every staff member in our office. It's the tax relief program. This program allows us each year to give a credit to taxpayers who are 65 years and older, and their income does not exceed $26,830. For 2011, they received a tax credit if they lived in the urban services of $586. If they lived in the general services, $505. Under the proposed budget, if it is approved, these taxpayers would receive, if they are in the urban services, $873 toward their tax statement. If they're in the general services area, $757. That is a sizable increase from what they are receiving now. We have roughly 6,500 taxpayers on that program. Under the existing program, 9% of those taxpayers do not have to pay any taxes. Under the new program, if it is approved, 22% of those people will not have to pay any taxes. If the program is approved, there will be 456 taxpayers that will pay less than $100 on their tax statement. So this is a program that is going to help a lot of taxpayers in this community. And it is a program that's been needed for a long time to help these people that are on fixed income. $26,630 is not a lot of money. The average income for tax relief recipients is $14,025 a year. So I would urge that as you go through the budget, we have asked for an additional $1 million to support that program. And I would ask as you go through your budget to make a great consideration on the part of the taxpayers that are on the tax relief program. And at this time, I'd be glad to respond to any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you, Mr. Cardwell. Councilman Stein, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I mean, Charlie, for an awfully long time, you've set a standard for public service, and we appreciate what your office does. Let me, of people in Davidson County that are eligible for that program, do you have a sense for what percentage that are eligible are on it versus aren't? I mean, people have to affirmatively sign up, do they not?
Yes, they have to come in the first year they have to come in and sign up. After that, we send them a form each year and they send it back in. The only advertisement that we have at this time is we put on the tax statement, you know, if you think you qualify for tax relief, please contact our office. And that is, and now we have 6,253 people that are on that program. Now, I have no idea how many more taxpayers may be out there.
Okay. Is there any effort with, for example, with social services and other organizations to make sure as part of their communication with folks they work with that this is available? I mean, this is so important, and obviously we are hearing calls from folks that are sincerely impacted, and I just wonder out there if we're getting to folks the best way we can, and obviously it may not be your office that's totally responsible for doing this, but I think we do need to think about ways that we can collectively in the government to reach everyone we can to be able to take advantage of this.
The only other area that we have worked with is with the senior citizens facilities. We go there occasionally and meet with those people, and we have some of the staff within senior citizens that do promote this program. But it's not a countywide program as such.
And I don't know where that comes from at this point, but I think we ought to think about it, and we ought to be talking about how to reach everybody we can. And one other question related to this, the freeze program, right. Will you explain the differentiation for that and who is eligible for that and how that differs from the relief program? And thank you again for your service.
Sure. On the tax freeze program, we have roughly 7,500 taxpayers. That means that all of the 6,200 that are on the tax relief, they are automatically on the tax freeze program. So we have an additional 1,000 or so people that their income, the income level on the tax freeze is $38,300. So there about 1,000 people between the gap of 26.8 and 36.3. We have those people. We have picked those taxpayers up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Stein. Councilman Tigard, you're recognized.
Thank you. And the tax freeze at 65 and older is the?
At 65 and older, and their income cannot exceed $38,300.
Thank you. It's, I think it's very appropriate that you're leading us off today. I suspect that you have forgotten more about Metro government, its finances, and budgetary issues than Director Riebling has learned in his 5 years. But
I've taught him everything he knows.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
That's very scary. But but I do think it is very appropriate that you're here first because of your vast knowledge of government. You've been through a lot of these crisis, trying times that those of us sitting on this side of the table are facing now. And I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts or suggestions about property taxes in general, cost savings for the government that you throw out. I'm going to throw you this bone, and then I'm going to ask you some tougher questions.
Well, it is hard for me to respond because, you know, I run a small department today, and I am really not familiar with what some of the other departments do today. They've grown because of the size of metropolitan government. So I'd rather not comment on
Okay.
that, Charlie.
I just going to pick your brain if you had any
Right.
pearls of wisdom there. Does the government fund any cell phones for your office?
The government does not fund any cell phones for my office. I have a cell phone that is my phone, and they pay me, I think, about $84 a month to be tied into the computers and what my needs might be when I'm in the office, or if I'm not in the office, what my needs might be as far as my office is concerned.
But no other employees or
No other employees. Yes.
That's very commendable. You have, being in the tax business myself, you have some real peaks and valleys in your office, and I assume that's the reason that you have your seasonal part-time employees that come October time or thereabouts when you're preparing the statements to go out, and then you've got a rush of citizens that pay as soon as they get a bill in the mail. Then you've got, I imagine, a lot that pay by the December 31st deadline for tax purposes, and then the February. So
Right.
Am I correct in my assessment there?
You are, yes. And basically, we have 20 employees. And during tax season, they earn what I call comp time. None of my employees receive overtime. My employees' average years of service are 24 years, average per employee. So those employees earn 5 weeks of vacation each year. Between the comp time and vacation that they are entitled to, the summer months gives them the opportunity to take off when they're not allowed to take off between October and the end of March.
Exactly. Okay. Your part-time employees do not receive any benefits?
No benefits. They're paid $13 an hour, and they work 19 and a half hours per week.
All right.
At the most.
I'm going to pitch something that I've talked a little bit to the administration about, but because of your peaks and valleys, per se, it would seem to me, and there are other departments with similar type situations that have to get out notices by deadlines and whatnot, it would seem to me that there might be the ability to tap into a pool of cross-trained workers that were skilled in posting taxes. I mean, I've been into your office to pay my bill and properties that I own, and so I know the system and what they go through, or if I mail it in and you've got to prepare the receipt and get that back type thing. So it's a system that needs to be trained and learned, but it's not something that's so specialized or insurmountable that a knowledgeable person. But you have other departments. I could say the county clerk's office with motor vehicle registration tag renewals at the end of the month, where they might need help to man all the booths type of thing. Would it be possible in the future to collaborate with other departments and share a pool of workers that might cut down the overall government payroll but still give your department the manpower necessary to complete the workload during the peak months?
The only problem I would have with that is we have a lot of checks and balances that we have to do in our office. We have the state auditors. We have the local auditors. I would not want to be responsible for someone that's not an employee that works for me to do my job or to help me do my job.
Okay. That's fair enough, but it's something I think there may be some opportunities.
There may be some areas, yes.
If they were under your control and were trained to your standards and whatnot, experienced in other areas, that we might realize as a government some cost savings. So let me talk about my final point. Fleet vehicles. You're not driving a Metro car.
I am not. We have one vehicle, and we use that daily to make the bank runs, and we come to the Chancery Court daily and to the legal department and some other offices throughout metropolitan government. That car is a 10-year-old car, and it has roughly 80,000 miles on it. And so that car stays parked unless our runner has to make a run to some other office within metropolitan government.
And only a few specified people are authorized to drive that vehicle, and it's used for business purposes only, no personal runs, those type of things.
Right. I have the authorization to drive the runner and a part-time person that retired from our office that now works 19 and a half hours per week during the tax season.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. Council Lady Bennett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Cardwell, appreciate your staff and everything you do and your long-term service. I've got three quick things. One thing I noticed in your goals, you list the software vendor Manatron and that new program to handle email addresses.
Yes,
do you want to talk about that real quick so that people listening understand what you're doing?
Well, basically, Manatron has built a program to where we can take emails and send tax statements. We're just now paying for that program, so hopefully come October we will not be at full speed, but we will be at a level where we'll continue to pick up emails where taxpayers had rather want the statement emailed to them.
Do you have any idea how much that's going to save us?
Well, you know, we're going to save on postage for sure. It depends on how many we have. I think now we have a little over 1,000 taxpayers that are on our email list.
Okay, very good. Can you tell me when they need to apply for the tax relief and the tax freeze?
The tax relief program for 2012, they will start applying around the 1st of August, and they have until April the 15th of 2013 to qualify for the 2012 tax relief program. So anyone that qualifies between August and April will qualify for the 2012 tax relief program.
Okay, thank you.
Tax freeze, they can qualify in August, and they're April the 5th also. But anyone who applies this year for the tax freeze will be taxed under the 2012 taxes.
Okay. So they need to really do it as soon as possible, but they won't get it till the next year at this point.
Well, they won't get any, if we approve, if the government approves a tax increase, they will have to pay that tax increase. But for the future, say 2013, when there's a reappraisal program, if for some reason their taxes went up, it would be frozen at the 12 level.
Okay. And can you also tell us, for the folks that were delinquent on their payments of their property taxes, roughly how much in fees and interest did we accrue from that?
Well, we accrue 1.5% per month. And so over 12 months, it would be equivalent to 18% simple interest.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
Thank you, Council Lady. And quickly on that note about signing up for the tax freeze program, I had a question from Council Lady Moore that's in that same vein, so I just wanted to address it quickly. You mentioned that people can start signing up in August.
Yes.
Is there a reason why there's that delay in signing up for that program?
Well, the delay is we have to get our forms from the state of Tennessee, and they have told us it would be about the 1st of August.
Great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Council Lady Dowell, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just had a quick question that actually came from someone out in our district. I wanted to know if you know what percentage of entities we have in Davidson County that are exempt from paying property taxes. More specifically, I was interested around like nonprofits. And that was brought up that we have a significant portion of nonprofit profit organizations that are exempt from property tax obligations, and maybe is that presenting some type of significant impact on the city?
I'm going to ask if you would save that question for the next gentleman that's coming up here, Mr. George Rucker, the assessor of property. He probably has all those answers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council Lady. I don't have any other members of the committee in my queue, so Council Lady Gilmore, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cardwell, for being here. I appreciate you. I have a quick question. I don't know, though. I'm wondering if it's for Mr. Rooker or is it for you? But a lot of times, some of the emails that have come in to me as a council member is that if we do a tax increase, that people feel like they're going to be taxed twice when you assign the rate. And I was just wondering if you could explain that, why they would say that, or if you could just bring more clarity to it, because they're saying we're doing the increase and then next year to be assessed, and then you'll assign the rate.
Well, you know, if there's a rate increase this year, they will get a tax increase. Now, I can't speak for 2013. That would probably be a question that would be for Mr. Rooker.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Council Lady. Councilman Davis, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Cardwell, thanks for being here. More of a request. Could you possibly get us like a one-sheeter on the tax freeze and tax relief program, just showing how much more it's going to be year over year for us? I have a lot of constituents asking about it. If there's any kind of one-sheeter you could get the district members especially, I think that would really be helpful.
I'll be glad to do that. I can do that probably tomorrow, yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Dominy, you're recognized.
Thank you. Charlie, I just want to commend you. You know, as I went down to pay my tax bill the last day, and you were out directing people into the office and getting them where they need to be, that's a public servant that we can all be proud of.
Thank you.
My question is, a few years ago, the city subbed out the collection of delinquent tax bills, where another entity receives those funds, but it's my understanding your office continues to collect them, but because they paid the fee to be the collector of those delinquent bills, we send that money to them. Is that still going on? Can you tell me what kind of revenue or expense we have in maintaining that and what we need to do to begin the process of reverting back to where you get all that money?
Well, we sell the tax receivable, and once that receivable is sold, then metropolitan government recognizes the total amount of revenue at that point in time. I think the receivable is sold each year around the 1st of June. The third party who buys that total receivable, as we collect, that money is channeled to the finance department, and then the finance department makes the payment to the third party. So that would be an area that probably Mr. Riebling would want to address or could address, but it's mirrored in our department. We collect that money just like they pay to us, then we forward that money to the finance department on a daily basis.
So we're collecting the delinquent taxes along with the additional fees and interest that go along with that.
Let me say, it's only the interest and penalty. The fees are collected by the courts. So it's only penalty and interest.
Okay, so that penalty and interest is collected by your office, yes, and then we pass it on to the finance department, who then passes on that additional revenue to the entity that paid us for those accounts receivable, even though we're continuing to do the work.
Well, the entity pays us up front for the money, for the receivable that they buy. Then any accrued interest and penalty after the date of the sale, that does go to the third party, yes.
Right. Rich, would you like to chime in?
That's essentially correct. This was started about 6 or 7 years ago, and we annually put out an RFP for the entity for firms to buy the delinquent taxes. We're in the middle of that process right now. We typically have historically sold it at a premium, so they anticipate the price and give us a 5% premium. I believe will be on this year's sale. And the problem is that if you stop that program, you have a 20 to 30, you have almost a $30 million hole in your budget that year because you have no delinquent taxes for that year. So you're sort of until there comes a time when we have $30 million laying around, which I don't think will be anytime soon, we're sort of going to have to continue that program. Fortunately, it's worked very well, and we get a premium every year for it, and so it continues to work. But at some point in time in the future, that could change. But we're actually getting more bidders on that program now than we have in past years. So there's a competition out there, and we're getting a good success rate on it. With a 5% premium.
So is that 5% premium set, or is that a change based on the competition?
It's bid. It's competitively bid.
Okay,
I mean, our proposals, yeah.
So we are getting additional revenue above the base rate that we would be due on the date the taxes are due. So we are getting a percentage above that.
There's an estimated amount on what the delinquent taxes would be, and then you put a 5% premium on top of that.
The last thing I want to point out, you made the point that we need $30 million to overcome that. That's assuming we make that all in one step. And I would encourage the process of taking smaller steps if we can do that, so we begin the process of collecting that ourselves, since we're already doing the work to collect it anyway. And I don't know what the difference is. If you can identify what the differences is.
Remember, you're getting paid up front for that money.
I know.
And then, obviously the government still has to collect the taxes like they normally would. I mean, it's not a lot of work involved in that. I mean, there's some manpower and things of that value, but it's not extensive amount of time and talent going to it.
Could you provide us with the difference between what would be collected and what we're getting with what you pointed out as a 5% premium?
Sure.
What that difference might be, and also a possibility of what number, if we did that over a 10-year period where we worked our way out of that process, if we needed to. I don't know, it might be dependent upon those numbers you provide, but if you would do that, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Pardue, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Charlie, just for clarification, the $1 million that you were talking about for the wish list is...
Well, this is not a wish list. This is in the proposed budget that has been presented to the council.
Okay. Now, most of that money is going to the relief and freeze fund?
It's all going to the tax relief.
All of it?
Fund, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Bedney, you're recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Caldwell, what happens if somebody is in a temporary hardship? He or she is over 65. Because of the circumstances of the economy, it's going below the threshold of $28,000, but it's not a permanent thing. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out if people have a way to even take advantage of this temporarily.
Well, we do have people that come and go on that program. If they were to sell an asset and 1 year their income would exceed the $26,000, then they would go off the program. Then the next year or the ensuing year, they could go back on the program because their income has dropped back below the $26,000. And we have a lot of older people that happens to them as life goes on. And also we have a program where we work with Metro Action. If their taxes become delinquent, the people that are on tax relief, then they will give them up to $500 to help pay their taxes. So we have a good relationship with Metro Action to help those people.
Will that be the case also with the tax freeze program?
The tax freeze program is only the taxes are frozen. We have no ability to give them any relief other than the fact that their taxes were frozen in a given year. Anytime there's a tax increase, then theirs do not increase, but we have no program that gives them any relief other than a freeze.
I guess what I'm trying to understand is, if 1 year somebody is below 28,000 for whatever reason and applies for the tax freeze, will it look
36? See, tax freeze is 38.3.
38.3?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's say somebody is below 38.3 for this year and he comes and applies to you, and next year the stock market goes up and it gets higher revenue. Will it lose the freeze?
They go off the freeze, but they can come back on if their income drops back below the 38,000. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Seeing no other members in my queue, Mr. Cardwell, Ms. Alexander, we sure appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.